Every year I get older, my love for birds grows more and more. So today I figured I would draw some birds, but to spice it up and work my creative muscles, I figured I would draw these birds as people. Starting with the blackbird, which was requested by this user. I was a bit of an idiot with this one and didn't do any research before starting the drawing. And I didn't realize that male and female blackbirds look different. So I'm using a male blackbird as reference and I'm drawing a woman. So just ignore that discrepancy. I promise I learned my lesson and did my research beforehand for the next two birds. So starting out, I'm just doing a sketch. I want to keep it very simple and basic in its design. I think the really cool thing about birds is that they're so beautiful, but they're so classy, if that makes sense. I mean, some of them are really flashy, but there's something very understated about them. So I really just wanted to capture that with the character design here. And then I'm just going in with a base color. And then on top of that, I'm using clipping masks and the lasso tool to fill in large shapes. I'm using the lasso tool a lot in these drawings just because I find it really helpful to focus on the big shapes first before going into the details. I used to be a realism artist, and I've been desperately trying to break away from that these past few years. And the lasso tool has been such a help. I used to get so bogged down with details, and now I can go big shapes into little shapes into littler shapes because of the lasso tool. So for the design of this, I wanted to keep it, like I said, really simple. I love the contrast of that yellow popping off of the black feathers of the male blackbird. So I wanted to sort of capture that here, and that was sort of my main goal for this particular drawing. I wasn't necessarily trying to capture bird-like features here. I just wanted to capture that contrast and that subtle elegance, like that simple elegance. Now, I didn't know a lot about blackbirds going into this because I am a bird lover that knows nothing. I love birds, I love watching them, but I never think to Google them. So doing this video was a lot of fun, getting to learn about these different birds. In particular, I didn't realize that the common blackbird wasn't in the US. That was a real surprise to me. I don't know why. I guess because it's the common blackbird. We all know what it looks like. But I didn't realize that it wasn't native here. I found out that they actually tried putting the common blackbird in the US, in New York and Oregon, and both times it failed, which is really interesting. Because I also read that they have been introduced to Australia and New Zealand, and there hasn't been any issues. So I wonder what about the US, or maybe in particular Oregon and New York, that didn't work for them. But for the most part, they're found in Europe and Asia. The males are black with a yellow beak and yellow around their eyes, and the females are more brown with specks on their chest. The oldest recorded common blackbird was 21 years old, almost 22 years old. And I think it's kind of crazy because we hear about how parrots and cockatoos and those sort of birds can live to 80, 100 years old. But then these smaller birds can't? Is that just because they're not in captivity? I'm really curious about this. If you're a bird person and you know this sort of stuff, please let me know. Because I'm really interested to know why these bigger birds seem to live longer. Because I'm a dog person, and I found that dogs, the bigger they are, the shorter their lifespan is, and the smaller the dog, the longer their lifespan is. So anyway, I'm just really curious. If you know anything about this, let me know. So I'm just adding little final touch-ups here and there. My drawing process is really just sketch base colors, clipping masks for smaller base colors, and then just fiddling with it until it looks right. So if my process is sort of hard to follow, I'm sorry. I've had people ask me to do tutorials, and I don't have a clue what to do. I try, and then I'm I don't know what to say. I'm just fiddling. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just fiddling and cleaning things up and going from big shapes to littler shapes and trying not to get too bogged down with details. In my research, I also found that there was a lot of different kinds of blackbirds, and some of them are absolutely stunning. And I'm probably going to have to make another video to do some of those birds because they're so pretty. And so this is how it turned out. I absolutely love this one. It is my favorite of the whole video. Spoiler alert. I think she looks so classy and beautiful. Yeah, let me know if you like this one. Up next is the eastern bluebird, which is one of my favorite birds. For this one, I did the research beforehand. I learned from the blackbird, and I found that the males, once again, are the ones that have that iconic color. So the males have the blue and orange and white that we know them to have, and the females are a lot more subtle with grays, browns, and light blues. When I was planning this drawing, I didn't have a clue which one I wanted to do. Like, I found them both to be so beautiful in their own ways. So I just decided to do both. And I really loved getting to really study the differences visually between the two and try to capture that. So right off the bat, we're just starting with a sketch. For this one, I wanted to lean more into bird features. Specifically, the eastern bluebird has such big, precious eyes. I really wanted to capture that. And I wanted to capture their tiny little beaks because I found them so cute. But I actually really struggled. And I know that that's just an indication that I need to study more anatomy and different kinds of faces. But that's what I love about these sorts of drawings. Taking animals or birds or whatever and like having to design a character based off of it. It really pulls me out of my comfort zone and makes me think a little bit more when I'm confronted with something that I'm not sure how to tackle. I know that I can make a note of that, and that's something I can work on. So it's really been a lot of fun getting to do these. I've done 2 of these before. I did the maned wolf and then I did a water deer. And those 2, I tried to go a little bit more creature-like and not focus so much on having them look entirely human. But I think for my current skill level, that was really overwhelming for me. So I decided to dial it back a little bit and just do like people and try my best to capture the essence within the confines of like human anatomy and human faces. So for this drawing, I'm doing the same thing I did with the common blackbird one. I'm just doing the sketch, putting on the base color, and then using clipping masks and the lasso tool to block out big areas of color. I really loved at this point seeing the difference between the 2 characters and how they seem to actually capture that same difference in the birds. I will absolutely admit that I overworked this one a little bit. It's just these birds, I love them so much. I see them all over the place. As soon as I finished this drawing, actually, I went out for a walk with my dog and I saw like 5 male eastern bluebirds sitting on the telephone wires. And I was like, oh my God, they're just so beautiful. And I love them. So I sort of had a lot of pressure on myself with this drawing. Hence, I overworked it a little bit too much. But it was really so much fun trying to capture them. Now, I find the eastern bluebird to be so interesting because their population actually declined in the 20th century because of habitat loss and competition from other birds, leading to a loss of nesting places. I read that they're not very strong birds, so they have to use pre-existing holes for their nests or use wood that's very weak to make their nests. And with deforestation and the switch from wooden fence posts to metal fence posts, actually significantly harmed them, which I would have never even thought about. But what's amazing is that due to conservation efforts, their numbers are now around 22 million globally. It's so incredible that their population declined by 90%, and now there's 22 million of them. all over the world, and the conservation efforts are incredible. There's like whole trails that are like designed for eastern bluebird nesting, and people will build their own little nesting boxes, and this helps other birds too, of course, but I think it's really cool to see the incredible things that humans can do when we come together. The fact that conservationists have been able to come together and increase these birds' population by so much is incredible. And we see it all over the place with other animals as well. We can see the work that people are doing. And I think it's really special to know that while a lot of humans are destroying the wildlife and they don't really care, there's an incredible, dedicated group of people who are working to combat that and to correct course, even in a way. I love seeing these little birds flying around. They're so cute. They look so precious and sweet. And I really love how this drawing came out, despite overworking it a little bit. I will say I do favor the girl character here over the boy character. I'm not entirely sure why. I think I just really like the muted colors of her and that little subtle pop of blue. So for this one, I was really focused on trying to capture the contrast between how the males and the females looked. And I found it really difficult with the male because I don't tend to gravitate towards more saturated colors. I like working in less saturated tones and having like little pops of color. So I definitely went back and forth with his like blush area and his hair, like pushing and pulling that saturation. I think in the end it probably could have done with more saturation, but it was really just like a battle between wanting to be in my comfort zone and also wanting to be outside of my comfort zone. The girl, however, I love. It was so in my wheelhouse. I was having such a blast working with her and playing with these colors. And I feel like she just looks so much more cohesive with the balance of saturated and desaturated. And maybe that's the reason I ended up liking her so much more than I ended up liking him. But I definitely know that I have to work with different color palettes that are more outside of my comfort zone, for sure. And here's the final product for the Eastern Bluebirds. What do you think? Last up is the pink galah, which was requested by this user. Now, before this comment, I had never heard of a pink galah in my entire life. And as soon as I Googled it, I practically squealed with how much I loved them immediately. They are such beautiful birds, honestly. So right off the bat, I had planned one sketch and it wasn't working. It wasn't, I couldn't see it coming together. So I decided to change course and go for a full side profile to capture that sort of iconic mohawk that they sort of have, and their beak. I love their beak. I'm doing the same thing I did with the other two of just doing a sketch and then putting down base colors and then a clipping mask with the lasso tool to block out big colors. So for this one, I decided to go for a girl, not just because I like drawing girls more, but because I loved the pink red sort of eyes that they have. The male galahs typically have darker brown eyes. I love drawing brown eyes. I love looking at brown eyes. But I love these pink eyes, these like pinky red eyes. It looks so cool, and I could immediately visualize how cool she would look. At this point, I'm like absolutely loving how this is looking already. I think she looks so cool and like kind of intimidating almost. Like she looks like someone that you'd see and be like, "Oh my God, that girl is so cool." And at this point, I started doing more research and found out that they're actually incredibly silly birds. And the intensity that I was instilling in this character was entirely misplaced. In fact, galah is a slang term in Australia, where these birds are native to, that means silly or foolish person. So once again, my bad research skills have come and bit me. But that's okay, because I don't know what I would have done for like a silly, goofy thing anyway. I think I was so focused on trying to capture like the essence of what these birds look like aesthetically that I wasn't really thinking about their personalities very much. I definitely want to fix that in the future for drawings like these where I'm like interpreting something. I found this one so refreshing and freeing to draw. Because of my background in realism, I think sometimes I get really bogged down with trying to keep things looking realistic, like something that I would see. Even if it's not rendered realistically, I feel like it needs to look like something I would realistically see, like out my front door, if that makes sense. I think sometimes I really put myself in a box when it comes to color palettes and sort of keeping to a realistic subject, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want my rendering to look realistic, but I want the thing that I'm rendering to be something that feels like it's grounded in reality. And I put myself in a box a lot of the times. And with this, I mean, it's not totally out of the box. It's just a girl with pink eyes and pink hair. But it was a lot more freeing than what I normally do, and I had so much fun with it. And it really just makes me think that I have to play with different color palettes and different subject matters and really force myself to step out of my comfort zone. And it's scary. It's always scary, but I think it's really important to do that for our growth as artists, to step outside of our comfort zone and do things that we wouldn't normally do. And maybe we won't even like it, and that's okay. But it lets us know that. It lets us know if we like it or not. And let me tell you, I loved this. I'm so excited to do more of these. And I wish I could just spend all day just drawing birds as people or animals as people. If you have any suggestions for any other animals or birds that you'd like to see me do as people, let me know in the comments as well. I think the next video I do like this will be animals, like any animals, not just birds, just because I got so many requests on my maned wolf video and my water deer video, and I'm trying to get through some of those. But leave me some comments of suggestions of other animals you'd like to see, and I will add those to the list. Here's the final drawing of the pink galah as a person. Let me know if you like it in the comments below, and let me know which of these was your favorite. And thank you so much for being here and watching. It really means a lot to me, and I appreciate you so much. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!